and we'll kick this off. So, good evening. Thank you all for being here. This session actually is for you. These next 5 sessions, next 5 weeks, are for the leaders of all of the chapters of our great district. We hope to have this speckled with all kinds of great content. I'm just going to go through a couple of things here tonight. We've got a special session. You saw probably announced Bill Colosimo is going to present on some leadership topics that are vital. I'd ask you to go ahead and set your chapter name and your role, and then your name, if you wouldn't mind. Just, helps to sort of see who's here. The agenda for tonight, I've got 4 basic sections that I want to cover. And this is the kickoff. So welcome to Online Leadership Academy 2022, right? It's all about being connected. We'll have some comments from district leadership. I expect a couple of district leaders are here to make comments from their unique perspective. Then we'll switch to Bill's Enlightened Leadership During Challenging Times. If that's a good title, I don't know, Bill. Did you want to have a different title for it this time, or?
Anyway? No, I don't. I'll change it.
Oh, okay, very good.
It's a subset. It's a subset of that, but we're on the right track. Thanks.
Okay, good. Yep. So stay tuned, and then we'll have a wrap up, of course, schedule expectations, and just a couple of other things that I think are some pretty common things that I'd like to help us be connected with. I anticipate that we're going to be together probably I've scheduled for 2 hours. I don't know if we'll go that full time, but I appreciate your diligence in being here. If not already done, set your name if you can. So I see Simon is here, and Simon, I know you get this concept. Point number 2 here: encourage others to participate. In your chapter, people who might not even be on the board. It's free. Attendance is free. Attend your sessions. Simon actually attended, I think, 5 or 6 sessions last year.
That's right, Rob. That's right.
It's like 5 or 6. And it was great. He had a lot of great questions. And I don't know if you could comment for a second. I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but I think you found a lot of good cross-connection information there, didn't you?
I did. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, met a lot of cool people, and yeah, it was really worth the time. I'm a treasurer, but I actually enjoyed hopping around all the other different sessions as well. It was fun. Right. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool. That's one reason why we run these sessions not in parallel. Unlike when we're in person, we have to run everything on the same day, and we have to run everything, all tracks in parallel. Breaking this up a little bit makes it easier for us to record them, but it also makes it easier for you to participate in multiples. And point number 4, we see point number 3. I'm not going to read it for you. You sort of get it. That's why you're here. I don't worry about you guys. You'll speak up. I know you will. It's very okay to have fun in these sessions. We're looking for that too, right? So the connected part, we've happened. Now, one of the things that happened last year in all of the sessions is we have, and usually when you're in person, it's good to go around the room, meet everyone that's in the room, know who's there, talk a little bit amongst yourselves, and that's good, and that's important to do. For these sessions are very compact and very compressed. Only 2.5 hours in order to fit like a whole day's worth of content. We get through it. I think every session last year got through, and we had time for Q&A. But unlike what I'm doing right now, if you could try to remember to compress, what you say in the beginning, in the intros, that would be helpful. We'll get through it. It's not a big deal, but it's something to be considered. Okay, so chapter leaders, and I know there are some. District leaders. It says district. I can't actually read, really. So I saw Katie is here. Let's see. I think I saw. So Bill, I know you're here. There's a couple of others. I don't know. Did Steve join up? And I see you're here. You're involved from a board perspective. So if I could just have you on the spot, just kind of talk. Let's take And if I could toss it your way first, because I know you're good at improv, right? So from a district perspective, Mid-Atlantic district perspective, your role on the board as we've gone through this past year, anything you'd like to say to the, I don't want to call us troops, we're the singing troop with an E maybe. So would you take it, Ann, and just kind of share a little bit?
Absolutely, Rob. Thanks so much. Your letting me improvise is great. I'm going to try to condense it as much as possible. That's everybody pray for me for a second. Anyway, so here's what happens is I'm a member at large on the board. And I also joined the board of North Pensman as well. So I'm the membership chair for the North Pensman. And I always refused to be on a board of anything. I always wanted to be on the musical side only. So this is a great experience for me. I'm learning a lot from Ig, who is past president, and who also resides in the same abode. So he shares a lot of the information and experience that he has lived through this, and I'm learning so much. One of the things that the board has done, as a matter of fact, it was Jay and I, who were assigned a task to look at the vision of the Mid-Atlantic. Like, what's the new vision? What's something we can really hang our hat on? And one of the things that we talked about, which was really important to everybody, and it revolved around that, is Harmony College East, because Harmony College East was so successful in what we did, when we did it, the attendance, the level, the quality of education that we had through that. So we thought, okay, so we're going to build all of our vision based on Harmony College East and Mid-Atlantic, and we called it Mid-Atlantic Connect. So this whole the overlying statement, or everything that kind of englobes everything, we called Mid-Atlantic Connect, which includes Harmony College East, but everything else in all the other. And Steve Kirsch is online as well, so he'll be able to talk more about that. But between Jay and I, we talked about what's the vision of Mid-Atlantic, and one is to really educate and keep supporting our members. And how do we do that is going to be up to the team members. So there you go. Is that short enough? I'm hoping.
Perfect, Ann. And that's a great perspective to have as well. Being a member at large and to talk about it from your perspective. I really appreciate that perspective. So I do see now that Steve is online. So Steve, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Rob, thanks for putting this session together and getting us all organized. First, I want to offer my apologies to everybody. Brian could not make it. He unfortunately had a death in the family last week and is traveling right now. So he's unable to make it. So in lieu of him giving some sort of inspirational message, you get me. Thanks, Ann, for talking about MAD Connect. Yeah, it's something. It's really going to be our mission, and what we've learned in this past year is that when everything is functioning normally, where we have our events, our contests, Harmony College East, everything's live, things just go nice and smooth. And this past 2 years have been nothing even close to that. And we're learning that we need to find different ways to reach out and work with our membership, our chapters, our quartets, our individual members, to continue to provide the value, to continue to provide the education in the community that basically they signed up for. We are all hopeful that our spring events will occur in March and April, so that we can get back together and sing. And we're doing everything we can as an operations team to make that happen. Keeping a big eye on what's going on with the latest COVID news, the latest variant, and making sure that while we want to do this and be hopeful, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that our membership and our attendees stay safe. It would be a sin to go through this entire process and cancel so many things to this point, and then decide, okay, well, we're exhausted from this, let's just have an event, and it turned out to be in the news for the wrong reason. So we're looking forward to the spring, and we're going to do everything we can to keep
I
everybody
don't
safe.
see none. Come on, Sam, I'm coming up.
Uh-oh. If you can, if you mute yourself, if you're not speaking, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I want to give a little bit of a shout out to a couple people who've, Rob being one of them, also Glenn Phillips and Cheryl Berlin, who the three of them have done a great job this past year in putting together the educational opportunities that exist. So Leadership Academy virtually last year and again this year, looking forward to that. Rob, you're right. We offer a perspective this year where everybody can attend every session rather than in person where you're really in your silo. And then also Glenn and Cheryl did a wonderful job. And I'll give a little shout out to Bill Colosimo, who helped engineer a lot of the show materials during our virtual Harmony College East. Great performance by that team, and great presentation that everybody, even though we had to be virtual, we could participate that, enjoy it, and get some value out of our experience. So thanks to everybody there. Moving forward, we started this in October. October. And we pushed out our first newsletter in quite a while. We got a little feedback on that, and are pushing out a new newsletter very shortly. We're looking forward to maintaining that communication with all of our members through that medium, and ask for people to submit articles that they wish to have published to share with the district. So we're looking forward to that continuing. One of the articles in this upcoming newsletter is something that I wrote about the fact that we're changing the structure of the operations team to more effectively, more efficiently connect with our members. Instead of having really what we had a flat operations team, meaning about 15 different vice presidents reporting into me, we're changing that, and we're basically putting it into functional areas of community, events, education, and marketing, with the goal to make sure that we can consistently and effectively provide the communication amongst all of these groups, make sure that we have our educational opportunities aligned, and then, of course, do everything we can to have the most effective and entertaining events with our contests and conventions moving forward. So that's all I have. If anybody has any real quick questions, fine. If not, actually, I do have questions. I can see a couple I can only see 3 people, and Bud Miller happens to be one of them. So Bud, fire away.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Thank you. The only question I have, or 2 questions. One, have the venues been decided yet for the divisions contests? And also then, will the HOD meetings be, House delegate meetings be on Zoom this year?
2 great questions. Number 1, we have not yet defined the venues for the spring. We are urgently looking at that, and the operations and events team have quite a high level of stress about that. We are looking right now for a combined Central and Southern Division contest the weekend of March 26th, northwest of Baltimore. That is our target right now, and we've had trouble with that. We're continuing to look. We hope to have something within a week or so. The April contest for the Northern Division is targeted for the Allentown area. If we cannot find venues in those locations, we're going to have to identify different areas. So we're looking at that right now. Short answer, no, we don't have venues. Long answer includes we're stressed about it and actively working it. Second question was House of Delegates. We don't have a decision on that yet. We would love to have some. I envision there being something hybrid. I would love to see everybody in person, but we tend to get more participation through the Zoom function right now. So that's something that we're going to, Brian, Brian will have to make the decision on whether how we do that, but that is something that has yet to be decided. So thanks for those questions. Others?
Thank you.
I don't see or hear anybody. So Rob, I'm going to pass this back to you. Thanks for the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate hearing from you, and that's great info to have. I'm really happy with this new structure. Can't wait to see how that functions. Looking very much forward to working with Dr. J. So, all right. The next step down I wanted to talk with would be the division VPs. I know Katie, you're here, new in a role of central DVP, replacing me. Thank you very much. I wonder if you would like to say a few words to the central division people here on that.
What's up? Hello. Hi, friends. I'm very excited to chat with y'all. I'll be going to Midwinter next week, but after that, I plan on bothering y'all and just talking to y'all and hearing about your chapters. And I'm really excited about that. So keep in mind the chapter advocate concept. And if you've got wonderful people around, please let me know about them. I want to learn more about y'all. And also, I'm in Central Division. I live in Baltimore. I live in Parkville specifically. So yeah, so it'll be great. I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks, y'all.
Very cool. Now I don't know. I didn't see Steve Skolnick. I don't know if he's on tonight, or Jerry Kendrilli. Those are the other two district division VPs for Northern and Southern.
Hey,
Great
Rob.
guys.
Hey,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
may I interrupt for just a second? Could we put Katie back on the horn to make mention of the East Coast Youth Festival that's coming up?
Yeah, absolutely.
By all means.
Hi, everyone. So East Coast Harmony Explosion, we have that set for February 19th in Baltimore. I will share the website to that as well. And yep, we should be good to go.
Okay. Okay, very good. And thank you for that. I don't know if I see any other district leaders. Are there any leaders here signed in who have a society perspective? I know we have some folks that are board members on the society. I know
Does
John,
that
for instance.
Am I, if I'm so qualified, Rob? Christian here.
There's okay, Christian. Good. I didn't see you on, but
Yes.
I hear you now.
So we are looking forward to a 2022 that can't be any worse than 2021, right? I think we said that last year. So looking forward to things getting a little bit more normal. And as Katie pointed out, midwinter, that's a little normal. It won't be the same as it's always been. It'll be a little bit different. And I think a lot of you join me in the sentiment of I just pray and hope and cannot wait to get to Charlotte this summer. And also possibly get down to New Orleans for Harmony U, making a pivot a little bit to a nice, probably cooler climate than Nashville in August in the heat of New Orleans. But Harmony U finding its way back to us now, once again, albeit in a different venue. So the hope is that a lot of the things that you've enjoyed in the past will be back up and running again this year. So, you know, we can get back to a little bit of what was old, but then also what's new. I think a lot of us in this leadership tracks that we're going to be taking have to really take heart of the future. The present is going to be completely different than what we've tried to do in the past, and we just have to learn to pivot. What I love is this kind of an opportunity to network and get to know each other, and in your classes, please do that, because that's how our society has been able to do what it's been able to do for over 80 years, is this connectivity, this learning best practices, learning mistakes. I've made a few, and picking up from those. So we're seeing chapters that are doing what Westchester is a huge, shout out to my friend Simon and the guys up there and gals up there, doing what you're doing up in Westchester with growing and finding ways to bring people into the fold, even though things are crazy chaotic with Omicron and things right now. So as we're going into this new normal, what does that mean for us? What does it mean when we go from a pandemic to an endemic, when the quote unquote, somebody gives the victory flag over the pandemic and now we're back to normal? It's going to be a new normal. So looking forward to attending these classes and meeting with all of you and talking about that. But I can also lend an opinion of, here's where the future of the society is going to lie. Are the services that we're going to offer going to be different? Probably they will be, because things have evolved on us. The world is not the way it used to be. Many of us read the harmonizer when it comes in the mail. Some people just love the live wire that they get every week. Whatever it is. So we'll continue to look and evolve, and my kudos go to our friends down in Nashville for what they've had to endure now for 2 years, and continuing to bring you content, continuing to support you as best as they can. So that's all I've got from the society view.
Thank you, Christian. Are there any questions that anyone has that they want to raise now? Anyone?
Christian, do you have an idea of when the board will make its decision on the contest configuration for Charlotte?
So that discussion, we are planning on having something done in January, and I know it's January now. The thought being we wanted to make sure we do it right. We have the communications all set for whatever those decisions are going to be going forward. So rather than rushing and trying to push it through in December, we wanted to hold off and get that done. The plan is to do it in January. Don't set your calendar to it just yet. But I'm pretty confident based on what I've been hearing from Danilo that we will be able to get through. We are scheduling meetings to continue to have those discussions. So if you have thoughts and views on that, please do not stop sending that in to the society board or email address. I can tell you I have read a couple of thoughts that people have had on it. We are reading what the people are sharing with us and get an idea of what those views are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so a question that comes up, and I have a question for the group. Do you know your advocate? This is kind of like everyone should know what their advocate is. And Katie, thank you for mentioning this actually during your address. So the chapter advocate program used to be the counselor program or the chapter counselor program is meant to be a mode of connection or connectedness between district and chapters. In the past, it has been that the district and the chapters have not let's say the chapters have not seemed to have ready access or felt that they did not have ready access to the district. I want to show something here real quickly. First and foremost, as you've heard from all of our leaders, I'm on the Mid-Atlantic District website, and you know the district directory here. We have officers and staff. This district, I'm sure other districts are this way. I've always found them supportive of anything we need to know, right? So you got a question, you got a concern, you look up someone like Steve and you send him an email or you call him up. I'm not saying call him today, whatever, but everyone has ready access. I mean, we have this website, we have these details, we have this info. Anyone you need to know that you might find helpful, like for instance, director of marketing or DVP music and performance or youth and harmony. Everyone is in these roles because they love the hobby. They love to lend their leadership and their wisdom to anyone who needs it in chapters. Sometimes, though, it's hard for some chapters to remember or to reach out. A lot of times I find that our chapters are microcosms. We'll solve all of our problems by ourselves because we know better, right? We know this area, we know us, we know what the problem is. And we always encourage chapters to get to know other chapters and also to reach out to your district level boards. But the advocate program is meant to help that. That's meant to be someone who you see or on a somewhat regular basis. So I'm going to go, for instance, I'm going to pick on Bucks County for a minute. Here we are, Bucks County. You've probably seen this as well, right? So who's your advocate? Here's your advocate, Christian Hunter. Well, what does an advocate actually do, right? So this is why I asked this question. If you all know who your advocate is, and if you've talked with them, and that's supposed to be a bi-directional thing, because your advocate may or may not be, society connected like we are, and we don't really rely on Christian for a lot of stuff, but we keep him in mind. And sometimes when we have questions about things, we reach out to our advocate, and that's kind of a ready, right next door, kind of in our area kind of, district friend. And that's really what they're meant to be. Does that sort of make sense? Someone say that, amen.
Yes, amen.
Okay.
Rob, tell them about the booklet you put together for the chapter advocates. That's excellent.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I can. So I'm going to access a page. I don't know so if you look down here, I don't think everyone has access to the chapter advocates. And I think, Katie, I probably showed this to you. This is where, you can see who the advocates are listed as being, and chapters that actually don't have any representation at the moment. We need more advocates. But here's this advocate manual that Bud was just referring to, and it needs to be updated. It's been updated and maintained, but this is kind of like just to give an overview here. This is a manual that I've prepared with the help of the chapter advocates themselves. Here's a sort of a job description, what they do, what kind of training, what's some good advice to follow, along with what I call the critical thinking toolkit, which are or problem solvers or ways that you can get help for a chapter or get a chapter connected to like for instance, the LOPT, the Think program or the Healthy Chapter Initiative or SMART goal setting, if that's the help that you need, as well as other resources that may be helpful. Because, when we come down to it, we talk about leadership and we talk about why we're here for chapter leadership. We're all on the board. We're all leaders to a degree. I'm not going to usurp what Bill is going to talk about in a few minutes, but we all kind of are invited to participate as leaders and to develop our leadership skill along with our treasurer skills or along with our secretary skills. This advocate manual also includes at the end of it some interesting books that I've had a chance to read, which gives a kind of a good perspective on leadership topics. So anyway, so this is available. We can make this available for anyone and all if that's of interest. We have this available. If you think you might want to be an advocate, for sure, let me know. Send me an email or let your district vice president, your division vice president know, and we'll get you connected for sure. I have, shameless plug, I have a training program ready to go. Okay. Are there any questions on that? Thank you, Bud. I appreciate you drawing that in. All right, so I'm going to switch then to Bill, if you're ready to go.
Okay, just a comment, Rob, before Bill goes,
Yeah.
just, an invitation to everyone here, check in your chapters to see if there's anybody who kind of fits the bill, because you are also the eyes and ears of our district. So if we need support, you're the guys that can send them to Rob and say, okay, what can I do? How can I help?
Thank you.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
There we go. I got a wave and a hello. Hey, Rob, I'm going to ask for your help.
Yes.
It's difficult for me, or it's challenging for me because I'm old, to monitor the chat while I'm doing a presentation.
I'm on it.
If you could keep your eyes on the chat and just shout and shout me down if there's someone that has a question as I go. Otherwise, I can take a breath and we can help. So welcome, everyone. I'm going to be as uncharacteristically succinct as I've ever been for any of you that know. I learned from Dick Powell, who taught me why use 5 words when 500 will do. So it's going to be one of those times that I try and use the opposite of that. Use the George Costanza, do the opposite. I am privileged to teach a course pretty regularly called Enlightened Leadership from Fear to Faith. And recently, more recently, just within the last month, gave a Harmony Incorporated Hive program online class that pared it down from a 1-day class to a 3-hour class to a 2-hour class to a 90-minute class. But more to the point, I think, of what we're going to be talking about throughout 2022 is a presentation that I've been privileged to give to about a dozen choral organizations, not just barbershop chapters, during the course of the last 18 to 20 months, called Surviving and Thriving in Challenging Times. And the tagline of it is radical regeneration. The presumption here is, and what I can do is I can make PDFs of these slides and get them to Rob so that he can pass them along to all those who are participating tonight and all the district leaders that you'd like to share it with. But surviving and thriving in challenging times has been the watchword ever since the start of the global pandemic, for all intents and purposes affecting choral organizations in the February-March 2020 time window. Although the coronavirus appearance may have been earlier, it just became more noticeable and brought to our attention during a time that was at the start of a 2020 year for which a number of choral organizations, and I'm including barbershop choruses here, had made plans to thrive during 2020, and certainly never imagined that whatever might occur in 2020 would carry over into 2021, and lo and behold, maybe even carry over into 2022 as we're experiencing today. So the thought was to take those who are already enlightened leaders, as I know all of you are, and you are all leaders. The extent to which we are all leaders is proven by a little video that I'm going to show in a second. That we can really survive and thrive during these challenging times. And let's see if I can make this go. So it would be nice if we could see the whole slide. Let me move you all over here so that you don't see a black thing in the top. So today's presentation is based on experience, not theory. It grinds my gears to go to a presentation where somebody starts out with, I think, it's possible that, it's written that, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm going to be sharing with you tonight has not only been shared with and successfully incorporated by other groups, but I have lived it through my work with my Alexandria Singers choral organization here in the Washington metropolitan area. The Alexandria Singers are an accompanied pops chorus. At the end of 2019, we had 90 active singers. And we have weathered this pandemic time with some extraordinary successes. Not only have we survived, but we have thrived to the greatest extent possible given the circumstances. And the reason we've done that is because we've looked at every one of our members as a leader. And I'm going to stop my share for a second, and I'm going to show you a cute little video that I want you to just absorb. It's only a few minutes long. Let me see if I can bring it up. Bum, 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 bum. And I'm going to make this as large as I can. And then I'm going to share my screen again. Optimize for a video clip. Let's see if when it starts up, if we, can somebody give me a thumbs up? Rob, can you see a black screen? Yep, okay, thank you, bud. All right, yep. Here comes the video.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
So there you have it. The shirtless dancing guy, the best leadership trainer in modern history. Somebody said that you want to make fun of it, but actually it's got some really good points to it. So leadership may effectively be overrated, but short of imagining that leadership is overrated, I can tell you that from my experience and not theory during the last 20 months of surviving and thriving during challenging times, we have leveraged our first followers in the Alexandria Singers and have 11 new singers over the course of that period of time. Now, admittedly, some have dropped off, some have left the flock, so to speak, as a result of their inactivity and so forth. But it's pretty remarkable that the first follower concept of working toward the vision, ours is artistry, education, and service, and not working toward Bill's vision or Bill as the leader per se, has resulted in some remarkable pivots and some remarkable nimbleness during this period of incredible challenge. So what has been, how can I make this? Let's see if I can do this a little more effectively here. There we go. So your model for meeting new challenges, what is this going to actually entail? It's the AWARE formula, AWARE. And the AWARE formula is made up of assess, determine and understand your why, WHY, develop an action plan, resolve to execute the action plan with agreement, and execute it. And the AWARE formula is just that simple. We were fortunate early on in the pandemic time to jump on this formula. We were taken aback, as many of you were, with the gravity of the pandemic. And by the way, challenges that may affect you do not necessarily have to be as grave as a pandemic. However, that's what we're living in now. And it's the best example that we can use to understand how we can thrive, survive, not only survive, but to thrive. If we can make it through this time, we can make it through any time. So this formula has been particularly helpful to us and for other organizations that have adopted it. What does it mean to really assess where you are? Boy, oh boy. Not just watching television news, but having a clear understanding of what's really happening. What is the situation? Not only from the history of your chorus, your chapter, your organization, and where you think you are, but what really is happening. And if you have that clear understanding of who and what you really are, your next steps are going to be more fluid and more executable. Is what's happening real or imagined? Now, Human beings are typically driven by fear, and fear is false evidence appearing real. And when that false evidence appears real, you need to cull it out and you need to look at the real facts of what's affecting your organization, what can be done and what can't be done safely, with good prudent practices and protocols. And then you can really identify that which is real versus that which is imagined. And there's no boogeymen when you set aside those things that are imagined. What is the scope of these challenges that you're facing? Is it local? Is it district-wide? Is it East Coast of the United States? Is it continental United States? Is it all of North America? Is it global? In this case, the pandemic obviously is global. It's particularly, depending upon which week you're talking about, the resurgence of the various variants can make different regions of the country more susceptible to the challenge than others. And I talked with organizations all over the continental United States and Canada, and we have found that every area is different, but every area's challenges still exist. They're just in different degrees of severity. So what's the scope that you're dealing with? What's the scope of the challenge? Who's affected? Now, we are arts organizations, and I have my dear harmonizer friends on the line, and I remember the tremendous article written nearly a decade ago that was called Arts or Elks? The question always is chicken and egg about society chapters. Are we fraternal organizations or organizations based on society, based on friendship that also sing? Or are we singing organizations that have as a result a close personal societal connection? We are arts organizations first and foremost. Now, we are hobbyists to a great extent, and we may be entertaining only ourselves and not necessarily the general public, depending upon which chorus you represent. But we have the affected parties of the challenge are our members, our patrons who come to our shows, our supporters, our sponsors, perhaps you have corporate sponsors, and ultimately the community at large who benefits from your activity, whether it be educational activity, entertainment activity, or you are a drinking group with a singing problem. Yeah, there you go. I know that feeling very well for those of you who know my story. So we have to determine who's affected in order to be able to accurately assess where you are and what needs to be done. What's the time scope of this? Well, folks, this is a cute little story for the Alexandria Harmonizers and the Alexandria Singers leadership conspired on the telephone call in the second week of March of 2020. And several of us were on a conference call together and we said, well, why don't we, since we're in the same market area, the same geographic area, and we follow a lot of the same ways of operating, why don't the singers and harmonizers each receive correspondence from their leadership indicating that we're going to forestall regular in-person rehearsals for just a few weeks. And I still smile at that email. I've kept it. I should frame it and put it on my wall as the least best estimate of what timing would be associated with this challenge. Just a couple weeks in early 2020. As you know, that didn't quite pan out. But so there are time considerations that we need to assess as we plan ahead. Coincidental with the onset of the pandemic for us was actually a grant deadline. A grant application deadline for a particularly helpful resource for our singing group. And so what we had to do was pivot so quickly in our strategic plan for the upcoming year in order not to fib on the grant application, but to make an accurate assessment of what we would be talking about for a period at the time we thought of 8 to 12 months. What if? And we nailed it with the 8 to 12 months, and we actually duplicated that grant application for 2021 because our timing, as we pictured it or visioned it, was more expansive than just the 2 or 3 weeks that we talked about in our discussions. Now, again, please don't just look at this presentation as a past experience for the beginning of and the inclusion of the activity during pandemic. This assessment is equally valuable for any time that your board does its introspection, does its look at what needs to be done. However, it's most critical during challenges like we're facing. What are the risks involved in doing what we're doing? Those are evident. We don't need to go through those. And is there a need for a response? I would say quite candidly, yes, there's a need for a response. Doing nothing was not a response. No response is, in fact, a poor response. If you haven't read Simon Sinek's book about why, W-H-Y, Finding Your Why, is both a personal and organizational must. You must know your why. Your organizational mission, in our case, Artistry Education Service, that simply put, or the society's mission, vision of everyone in harmony. Those whys are that against which we measure everything we do. If any proposed transaction, activity, function is put in reference to our mission and doesn't fit, we set it aside. We don't do it. We don't waste our time. There's no time for that, Jack. We got to do what matches our mission. What's our vision? To be the premier pops chorus in the Washington, D.C. area. That vision came as a result of my arrival in 2007 with the group when we had 23 singers. And as I say, we blossomed to 90 over the course of the intervening 12, 13 years. And that vision to be the premier pops chorus in the DC area, it was an act as if vision. We weren't the premier pops chorus in the Washington, DC area, but we've actually become, to many people's way of thinking, that element of the community's entertainment and educational landscape. The three keys of our why is having a consensus of what our why is, communicating that among ourselves, and then cooperating with each other to implement the why. And part of that as well is being accountable to each other. You know, those first followers we talked about are the real leaders. All our members are stakeholders in every one of our choruses. And woe be to you if you don't understand that. You must understand that every person in your chorus, whatever their skill level, whatever their experience level, they are all stakeholders, and they are to be both, you need to be accountable to them, and they need to be accountable as well. And we need the accountability to respond to our why as an organization. We need to review it, and we need to renew our why. So you may want to take a look at your own why. And it's a good time of year, January 2nd. What is your why? A whole process and presentation in A Purpose-Driven Life, or I'm sorry, in Simon Sinek's book, or A Purpose-Driven Life. You know, do your whys, your individual why and your organizational why align? For example, if you enjoy singing in your chorus because you are a highly competitive person and you like the contest element of the chorus experience, or even a quartet experience, but your chorus isn't geared toward that focus, that's not part of their why, you may wish to inquire about that. Not in a confrontational way, but just, you know, I really like the purpose of competition. I really like the experience of competing. And you may learn that you have some input to help influence some others that may turn the tide. Or likewise, if you're in a heavily competitive chorus and you aren't necessarily aligned to that competition thing, you have a right to say, I'd like to see if we could also do more things in our community, more things that are more social. I will participate because I'm a good chapter person. I will participate in the competition thing and I will give it my all, but that's not my why. My why is the satisfaction of doing a good job, of learning. Those are the kinds of things that make me run. How about we incorporate that more into our why as an organization? And this is the timing of all these assess and why. No time like the present, right? Because it's actually gives you some time now, and did for the last 20 months, to really go through these exercises, but you can do them anytime. You can do these in a weekend. I've had weekend retreats with a number of choruses in the Barbershop Society and outside of the Barbershop Society, where all these have been done in a weekend, the AWARE model. So what's our action plan? This is the AWA. What is the statement of normal? Well, we know what the statement of normal is. It's how we've operated to this point, but now we need a new way of operating. What's the new way? What's the reality? We don't want to be alarmist. And within what time period do we need whatever change we're going to implement? Now, these changes don't need to be drastic. You don't need to become an orange if you're a banana. What you need to do is modify your activity, modify your goals, modify your approach, and certainly modify your communication and your cooperation, both internally and with your community, so that everybody knows what the heck you're doing. So it's not a surprise. You need to communicate what your new is. So in developing your strategies, we were privileged to have a number of people who had been with the organization for a long time. And I'm sort of medium with the organization. And then we had a number of new people. And the new people on our board helped us look at what big things they think we might be able to accomplish, even during a challenging time, which perhaps some of us had said, no, we can't do that. And how terrible is it when you have somebody who is a stakeholder in your organization, especially a leader, say, well, we've tried that before and it didn't work. Well, let's think big. Let's think big, but think doable big. All right. And one of the models that Rob gave you earlier in the wonderful written reference guide is the SMART model. What's measurable, what's achievable, and what are the strengths and weaknesses and obstacles and threats, or opportunities and threats in the SWOT analysis. These are the things that we need to look at, but we can still think big. We need to align the strategies that we're going to develop to thrive and survive in this with our why. We need to write them down. Oh my gosh. There can't be any organization that's successful that doesn't write stuff down and doesn't have an archive of what was decided, and then a chart or a PERT chart or a Gantt chart or whatever the charts are that they're called these days, that have a timeline of when it's going to get done and who's accountable for it, the resources and accountability that's necessary to get something done. And I mean the little somethings. The first step is the most important to get anything accomplished. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So let's just take one little bite, and then another little bite, and another little bite. And then we're going to celebrate each little bite in some way through a consensus, a communication of that celebration, of that success, and the cooperation. We'll see that consensus, communication, and cooperation appear all the time. Those 3 C's are critical to your doing this. If I think that it's the Bill Colosimo Singers, or the Bill Colosimo Harmony Society, or the Mixed Barbershop Harmony Bill Colosimo Society, it's not going to be helpful, because that's focused on self. If you're focused on the other and the cooperation and the consensus and communication of both your members, your stakeholders, and even your contributors and your patrons, we had to look in the last 20 months, what will our patrons put up with? And frankly, what do they need? What would enrich them? What would enhance their experience during these challenging times? One result was an incredible virtual presence of the Alexandria Singers during the last 20 months. We've done virtual shows. We've done virtual choirs, they call them. I love the term virtual ensembles a little bit better. We've produced a number of educational opportunities for the community that are free. We have a Sing for Your Life program that we usually do in person. So we give a free choral workshop for 3 hours on Zoom. And it's quite remarkable how people have in the community have benefited from it. And it's not a membership ploy. It's not a trick. It's not, it's not sleight of hand. It's simply service. It follows our mission of artistry, education, and service. And so we celebrate all these things. And during the course of that period of time, and I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you the fact, we have, through that period of time, actually survived and thrived financially, as well as artistically, and from a standpoint of education during that time. How has that happened? It's been because we have openly and authentically conveyed to our patronage that we need their help. And people want to help you. And when you do that, people will respond. And you give them the gift of your music. You're sharing your gift, even if it's showing past performances in a new light, with new narration, with new love. They're going to love you back. Trust me. So we have the AWA. Now, what resources are critical for our action plan? You need a budget. and I know that this is old hat. I mean, you're all board members in your chapter, you're leaders in one function or another. You know there's a thing called a budget, but it has to be a nimble, practical budget, folks. You can't just throw out a number and guess. You have to sit down before our organization actually ratifies its budget. We have 2 committee meetings of stakeholders where they all sit down and we look at proposed last 3 or 4 years of budget in a row. And we talk about what's really necessary to get the job done. So, I'll get to, Kristen asks a little bit more about the Sing for Your Life program, the 3-hour Sing for Your Life program. I will talk a little bit about that in a minute. So you need a budget, and you need it to be flexible and nimble, and you need to continually revisit it. We have a skills inventory in our choral organization. I hope that you have a skills inventory as well. All you need to do is you need to ask poll your members with a Google form, which is simple to use these days and can be implanted in a private drive where you ask them about their skills. You may have CPAs that you didn't know you had. You may have lawyers that you didn't know you had. You may have people who are excellent writers, communications experts that you didn't know you have. You may have people who have been on other boards, like their homeowners association board or their community board or their church boards. And you don't know that unless you ask for your members' skills. So you have a budget, you have skills, you have people with the time and willingness. Now you hear the old saw about, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. But that's starting to wane a little bit these days because a lot of us are taking on more than we can handle. So you need to spread the wealth a little bit, and you need to encourage people, not just by saying, I need a volunteer, but you need to specifically go to your members whose skills you know or you think you know, and say, we have something that has a limited time commitment. We know you're willing to help out the chapter. Would you take this on? And people will invariably say yes, especially if you are authentic in your pitch. Information, well, we certainly have a plethora of information about the ongoing spread of the coronavirus. I, for one, and I know Noah Van Gilder's online from the Harmonizers, a number of us continually monitor data, scientific data and so forth, especially that's been culled from research done by the major choral organizations in sync with universities about viral spread of singers and the super spreading of the coronavirus by singing. This kind of information is very valuable, but information about what technologies are available to you as well has been critical during this time.
If I could interject, Bill, while you're on that particular
Sure.
point. So I have reached out to Jason Lee, who actually is involved with, that effort, I think, to a very big degree, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to arrange a time that works for his schedule for him to participate actually and present some of his findings and his information. I think it's going to end up being in the final session on the 30th,
Cool.
Combined session. So
That's so awesome. That may end up being one of the more popular classes you offer. I also encourage you to reach out to George Korch as well.
Also did.
Because George is also helping the district in making some determinations about our decisions concerning contests and events.
Thank you. I did reach out to him. I haven't heard back from him yet, but yes.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, thank you. It's just while you were there.
It's like Santa Claus this time of year,
Is that in reference to the coronavirus or the technical aspects?
No, we're backing up. This is more in relation to the severity and protocols for the coronavirus mitigation.
Thank you.
Jason Lee and George Korch are both scientists and both involved in epidemiology and virology and all the other ologies that have to do with what we do. And they're also members of our society and members of our district and members of our different choruses leadership teams. And they're both consulting with various chapters right now. In the area of technology resources, there are scads of them, the most prevalent of which was Zoom. I don't know about you, but although I knew it existed, I didn't know how to spell Zoom before March of 2020. And now I are a Zoom engineer, not really, but I have run rehearsals from my little home office here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, for the last 20 months and have successfully navigated the Zoom world through both self-taught YouTube videos and a lot of help from a lot of people. So that's just one of the 50 different resources, Jamulus and other collaborative resources that can be used. And I'm not going to get into that except to say that if you want resources, they're out there. And if you contact me, I can point you in the direction of some things that have worked for me. Grants and development. All I can say is, yes, they're really good. Grants are actually very difficult to manage. And so I'm going to actually downplay the success of grants, although I don't want to discourage anyone from approaching them. They're just very time consuming and very tedious. Development, on the other hand, is pretty simple. That's put your message in the hands of a trusted servant who can authentically communicate your message and get in touch with the business leaders in your community and your nonprofit organizations in your community and say, we're here and we mean business to bring artistic joy to the people in the community. Would you help us? And people will stroke a check for you. I promise you that. We were until, I won't say until 2 years ago, but certainly up until 2007, we were the best kept secret in the city of Alexandria, Virginia. And since 2007, with a lot of push from a variety of sources within the organization, we're pretty well known now. We haven't yet reached the international fame of the Alexandria Harmonizers, but the Alexandria Singers are reaching into our community with, I think, the same amount of success. So development is asking for and receiving financial support through both benefactors and corporate sponsors. I will add that many of the grant resources that we have, pardon me, the grant applications that we have made, they've said to us, how self-sufficient are you in terms of your development function? And this goes way back to when the Barbershop Harmony Society and Harmony Foundation were talking with each other. Harmony Foundation only had 6 or fewer % of its own Barbershop Harmony Society members donating to Harmony Foundation. And when Harmony Foundation, the Barbershop Harmony Society would reach out to other organizations for funding, they would say, how many of your members contribute? And when the answer was only 5 to 6%, grant organizations would say, that's not a substantial enough development effort on your part. No, thank you. We won't be involved. When that rose to the 20% level, and again, when there was less hubbub between the two organizations, there began to be some real opportunities for grant success. That's been true of the it's been true of the Harmonizers, but it's been true of the Alexandria Singers as well. And I'm sorry to mix the two up, but I'm part of both. We're back to technology. I think it was Tom Noble that asked that question, but technology resources are critical. Training is very critical. If in your budget you don't have a professional development line item, you should. Although in today's world, there are so many free online opportunities to learn how to be a leader, to learn how to be a musician, to learn how to do anything. The Barbershop Harmony Society itself has so many courses and classes. And this is where I'm going to put in a pitch that I was going to put in at the end, but I'm going to put it in now. Harmony College East, of which I'm privileged to be co-dean along with Cheryl Berlin, one of your new board members. Harmony College East is a fantastic opportunity for your members and your leaders to learn more, not only about our art form, but about how to be great leaders in your organization. Harmony College East, again, we're planning to be live and in person at McDaniel College, June 16th through 19th. And your choral organization has already received an email from Cheryl and me that asks for your interest in having your chorus come for chorus coaching. And were that not the case, hopefully you'll be responding to that yay or nay, just for our planning purposes. But more importantly, we hope that you'll encourage everyone in your chapter to take a stab at Harmony College East. That training there is first rate. It is, if not the premier, among the premier district schools in our society. We're very proud of it for the 30 plus years that it's been in place. We wouldn't do without it. Well, I know it's 35 because my first one was in 1978. And it's really a remarkable, remarkable thing. So please consider coming June 16th through 19th. That's just one element of training. Outside the society, in the training world, get online, get trained, learn your stuff. And finally, write down stuff. In your organization, if you elect new officers every year, except for secretary, which I know is secretary for life, but the other officers that rotate and the functional areas of leadership, if one person goes and doesn't write down what they do, the next person starts from scratch. That's just dumb. How's that for an uncouth way of providing a leadership session? That's just dumb. Please, please, please begin right now to document your processes inside your organization. Now is the time. Now is the time. If you don't do it now, it's not going to get done. And the next person is going to be right at step 0 when they start their job. You can get outside consultation and services in our district. You are so fortunate because there's a whom do you call list that Rob also referred to earlier that's on the district website. But even if that's outdated, and I think it is, and I'm offering this because I love you all. I know many of you, and I worked with many of you, and I've had the privilege of serving in the district in just about every capacity one can serve. But I'm your outside consultation. I mean, call me, send me an email. I don't know what to do. What should I do? I'm a good first point source, because even though I'm not the titled person, I can point you toward the people that I know can help you. So there's outside consultation within the Mid-Atlantic District to help you. You don't need to pay people to do this. Collaborate with other organizations. By the way, holy moly, if there weren't other choral organizations in the same boat as us, it would be a very lonely path, right? But we're all in this together, folks. And let's, Christian's on the line, and I'm not going to put him on the spot here, but when I see 100 Harmonizers show broadcast or advertised, that includes Somerset Hills, that includes 100 Harmonizers, that includes a new mixed group, that includes a local group. Oy, 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 oy. The Great Northern Union, with whom I work in Minneapolis, directed by the incredible Mo Field, their collaboration with local artists in their community have produced some virtual entertainment and educational experiences throughout this pandemic that are beyond the pale. So collaboration is the key. You can't do everything yourself. In March of 2019, before the pandemic, the Harmonizers and the Alexandria Singers collaborated to invite and encourage vocal, can't remember it now, but I'll think of it in a second, from New Zealand, who came right at the time that there had been the terrible tragedy of the mosque shooting in Christchurch, New Zealand. And they arrived in the United States, and we collaborated, the Harmonizers and the Singers collaborated to present an incredible community enriching, peace healing concert. Let's collaborate more. Let's not try and do everything ourselves. That's antithetical to being aware. The R of resolution, this is simple. Basically here, all stakeholders must be informed and resolved to endorse the action plan. I'm past the point of saying people have to sign an agreement. Yes, I understand. Yes, I will play. Yes, this is exactly what I'm going to do. But they need to have some sort of I'll get to that chat question. They need to have some sort of resolution on everybody's part to one degree or another to participate. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that, your stakeholders, internal stakeholders, need to be communicated with very clearly. And back to that consensus, communication, and cooperation. You have to identify those who are tasked to execute the strategy. You have to listen authentically. Now there's active listening classes and stuff. This is a failing of Bill Colosimo right here, and not the authentic part, but the listening part. It's been my habit over the years to be thinking of how I'm going to respond while I'm listening to something. That has changed a lot over the last 20 years. And I'm really fortunate to have had good teachers say to me, and mentors in particular say to me, you know, it's probably not good that you be thinking of how to respond, but that you listen authentically. So listen to your stakeholders. Answer the questions as thoroughly as possible. In some cases, even with overly long responses, as long as they're clear. And then amend your activity appropriately based on the input. Don't just give it lip service and say, oh, gee, thanks. Okay, whatever. You know, this resolution means that you're actually going to resolve to do something. And if that involves change, then change. I do want to address the chat question because we talked about the Harmony College East weekend of the 16th through the 19th. It is, in fact, Father's Day Sunday. Father's Day is the Sunday. And as has been the case in the past, all the activity associated with Harmony College East ends on Saturday night with the second of two big shows that are going to be amazing. So in general, everyone who's a father or who wishes to participate in Father's Day activities are home well before the major portion of Sunday is over. At one time, it was determined that it was also an ideal opportunity for fathers to bring sons, grandfathers to bring sons and grandsons. And so there is some linkage there. It's also very pragmatically, the weekend the McDaniel College has open for us to do it in 2022. So that answers a number of those questions. I apologize that when you say it's a deal breaker for many, I will respectfully suggest it's a deal breaker for some, but I would ask that you consider what the priorities are and whether or not you could spend the same day with your family on Father's Day. I will tell you, I've been a dad. I still am a dad and a grandfather, and I'm still able to enjoy Father's Day, and I haven't missed a Harmony College in a lot of years. It doesn't necessarily need to be resolved unanimously. Now, this is really important. Substantial majority buy-in is important with both your board and your membership. There are always going to be people whom you can't please, but you're doing your best in the process to ensure that the AWARE, A-W-A-R-E, changes in challenging times are helping as many people as possible. And finally, you distribute the results of what you're going to do, and that synthesizes the message both for your internal people and your public. Share it on social media, share it on your website, say this is what we're doing and we're excited about it. Share it optimistically and with enthusiasm. Clearly, you have to execute it. John McKay, the infamous coach of the losing Tampa Bay Buccaneers after 26 straight losses, was asked in a press conference, "Coach, what do you think about your team's execution?" And he paused and he said, "I think it's a fabulous idea." What we hope that you're going to do here, thank you very much, I'm here all week. What we hope that you're doing here is you're executing differently from John McKay and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, by the way, are now soaring to the heights of the NFL. But this execution is the full manifestation of your radical regeneration. This period of challenge can be a time of radical regeneration of your chorus. Work your plan, review your progress, write it down, present reports, dialogue among yourselves, make every board meeting a review of your AWARE plan, and hold people accountable. Don't just have the typical, where are we going to sing next? What's the temperature of the rehearsal room? Those are the topics of board meetings that need to be set to the side and handled in an operational discussion. The board needs to look at the progress of your plan. You need to be flexible. This period of time has needed so much amendment. We thought in the Alexandria Singers that we were going to have live rehearsal starting this January 4th, tomorrow night, or what night is it? Tuesday night. And then guest nights and open auditions in person on the 11th and 18th. Nope, not going to happen, at least in the Washington metropolitan area. We don't anticipate returning to in-person rehearsals again, which we did have from September 28th through an incredible live series of shows in December, which were safely done with incredible protocols and nobody got sick. And so the flexibility requires that we go back to a virtual world for the foreseeable future. And we're going to be learning a lot during that period of time. Again, communications with all concerned, communication, consensus, and cooperation, and we celebrate our success. And we're good at celebrating. Barbershoppers are great celebrants. Let's have a pizza party. Let's have a lot of fun. Let's do things outside. Let's, I'm going to again reference, it seems like our 100 folks and Lansdale has incredible social activities. I know that all your groups want to have social activities. Let's celebrate things and honor those unsung heroes in your organization that help you execute your AWARE plan, and then renew what the process is needed. So I already talked about Harmony College East. Let me talk about the very first plug here, and that's concerning leadership development. If you are a chapter president or if you are a chapter advocate, you've been solicited to provide. I'm a member of the Leadership Development Committee for the district. And what that means is that we don't just nominate officers for the board of directors, but we look for people to be part of leadership teams in our district. And we're looking for people with just leadership potential and who would be a valuable servant to our district. And if you can think of anyone, perhaps yourself, perhaps someone else in your chapter, who's appeared to you to have the strengths to be a contributor on a larger level than just your chorus, my email will be contained in the next slide, and you all know how to reach me. You always have. And Rob can point you in that direction as well. Let me know. And John Santora is our committee chair. We have a 5-person committee, and we work very hard to continually try and help our district leadership by naming people, not just to head things. They don't have to lead something, but to be part of a team, to learn how to do help in our district. And that's part of our thriving and surviving during challenging times as well as a district. So you can email me here. You can write me a letter. You can message, hey, let's go to Facebook. I'm on Facebook. 99% of you are my Facebook friends. And my phone number is even in my Facebook about information. And you can also learn more about the Alexandria Singers by liking our Facebook page. And that's all I got. And I think I've answered all the questions that were in the chat. I am so grateful for all of you. And thank you, Rob, for giving me the opportunity to be with you tonight. If you have any questions, I think if you haven't, well, I don't know if it's fantastic, but if you have any questions now, I've gone a little over the 35 minutes or so I was allotted. If there's anyone that has a question or a comment, I'm open.
Can you repost that last slide so those of us who weren't quick on the draw can take a screenshot?
Sure, that's an excellent idea. How about if I do that? Taking a screenshot is a good way to do a lot of stuff in life. Look at that. That's me in a nutshell. Got it?
Got it.
Sweet.
And also note, probably should have pointed this out, probably when you joined, you became aware, we are recording this session.
Oh, cool. All right.
And this will be made available.
Good thing I was clean in my delivery as well.
That's right.
Atypically family friendly.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you in person again. Let's all give each other a big hug when we see each other. Whoever isn't a hugger, that's right. We'll give a virtual hug. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Bill. Very much appreciate it. Okay. So let's continue on. I just have a few other details to pass along here. If I can get through it. But I think these are essential details for our continued success. So let's see. I think I want to go to this slide here, just so you're aware. Session materials will be prepared ahead of time and will be available, right? This delivery method gives us the ability to post the materials, make them broadly available, and incorporate it into the sessions. I want to talk about resources, and I want to talk about resourcefulness a little bit. I don't know. I know around my chapter, a lot of folks don't really know how to use like the Mid-Atlantic District, website, and they don't know how to use like the Barbershop Harmony Society website. We're learning because it changes from time to time as well. I also want to point out, and this is where I'm going to go through a series of slides here, a series of websites here, if I can get to them. Let's see, let's go out of presentation mode here and get right to it. So we have a YouTube channel, which many of you may have seen or not. These are the sessions we had last year. And we'll be adding this session this year. This is our own little treasure trove of each section. So if mid-year, let's say you have a secretary or treasurer, join you, I think we get the concept. You can come here and you can actually see and participate in and get and harvest some of the information that was in that session. The Mid-Atlantic District website, I am gonna go and do a couple of things here because I think this is important that you know, right? So I hope everyone is logged in, membership login. You should log in. You can stay logged in if you want to. Mike has done a pretty fantastic site with a pretty fantastic job of making this a usable, database-driven website. Don Myers has a question: who updates the district website with new board members? That's a very interesting question. Let's, for example, let's go pick on Donald C. Myers. So here's Don Myers. You can tell that I'm not logged in right now because I don't have all of the information here. Let me just log in for a real quick second here. Here's my number. You won't see my password. If you've not done this, right? I forgot my password. I need a password. My dog ate my password. Okay. Mike has a pretty good sense of humor. If I log in here, Donald, as soon as I'm logged in, I can see all of the information, right? This information, your information, comes from the Barbershop Harmony Society up in Member Center. There is a feed. There's a periodic feed. I'm not sure how frequent that feed is. When the systems were changed at the Barbershop Harmony Society, and we got the new Member Center, which is based on Salesforce technologies, there was some trouble in getting the updates more frequent. So those answers are that the information needs to be set in the Barbershop Harmony Society, and then that should flow down in. If it's not,
Rob, it's been my experience over the last several months or so since they updated the website at Society that most of that's not being done. And it may have to do with the fact that the pandemic's been raising Cain with everybody. But I that the board members for my chapter have not been corrected for at least 2 years.
Yeah, that's something we should probably take up with Mike.
Yep.
And find out. All right. So thank you for that question. That's a great question. So logging in is important, and docs and information are here. I wanted to talk about also like board meetings and board minutes are posted. House of Delegates are here. I don't know if you've gone and seen, but there are things like, for instance, the chapter financial, the nonprofit registration. For instance, if there are questions about this, I'm going to cover this in secretary class, but some folks have done some, like Chris Beekler, for instance, have done some pretty amazing work to pull together a lot of information to answer questions that chapters have. And it's all in here, right? So there's a docs and information. I'm trying to get over here to this. There we go. You got like the 990 filing. You've got district regulations. You've got Mid-Atlantic Archive. If you want to go back and reread some stuff, you've got scores, the scores net. Not just, it's some fun stuff like that as well. There's lots of information here. Programs and projects, membership drive program. I think that material is here. Let me just take a quick peek on this. Chorus director workshop, that's listed here as well. Here you go. Nonprofit registry compliance. Wait, this is the wrong page. Sorry about that. Just picking the item from the list, and I guess that link might be dead. Yep, looks like it. So anyway, the district website is a resource. I find that it's a great resource for your chapters, for chapter info, for chapter membership. I'm always in here. I'm always looking at this thing. All right. Going back to the presentation real quickly, we want to talk then about the website, the society website. Let's see. So I have pulled up here. Oh, and this, by the way, I just wanted to talk about. This was revised. It was a bit old, revised February 16th of 2020. You can always see when it was revised. It does need further revision. And I know that Dave Kelly, who is the district secretary, is working on that. I know he's actually asked for updates to be made to this, and so that's forthcoming. Keep an eye out for that. All right. Document Center, Barbershop Harmony Society, logging in. We kind of get it. Manage my singing communities is here, right? So when you're logged in, you can see what you're a member of. If we go to the home page here, I just want to show how we get to that, right? So and I'm going to incorporate these into my materials, and other faculty, if you're on, hint, hint, by the way, I'm going to send a note about this. If you can work in the connection to your information, and where you can get the docs that support that board position, that would be great. So yeah, here's manage my singing communities. You get to the same place, right? So So when we get to Doc Center, and this is where I'm going to end this particular part of the presentation, I just want to end with this. Resourcefulness, and I know that most of us has probably Googled something, right? You know, I'm an IT professional and we Google everything. You know, that's how we learn and do the magic, right? And it's continually changing, you know, fabric, if you will call it that, right? So you have to be good at searching and finding. And the trick to searching is knowing where to search and knowing what to search for, right? So I want to point something out here. There's some search available here. If you see this, you can go click on that little, looks like a magnifying glass, and you can search. This is not the search for you. This is a member search. So it's a search for you, but it's not really a search for what you want to find. You can get to stuff that matters for chapter leaders or district leaders. You know, you can click on Document Center. I thought that's where we were, but you can click on it again. This down here is the search through all content. So you have to come down here to search, for instance, like chapter secretary. And what I find here is that the structure of the data and the structure of the information is more of a knowledge engine. So these are knowledge articles. They're listed as articles. So chapter leadership guide, guides for resources. Let's see. So I hit secretary in there, and somewhere down in here is going to be probably what I want. So you have to sort of have to read through and you have to find, but probably chapter secretary was the wrong thing to look for. Maybe if I just look at secretary, maybe that helps. I have to click on search. All right. Chapter secretary, tools and documentation. When you get to this, and I'm doing this because I'm just actually going through and preparing my presentation for secretary's class in a couple of weeks. But here you can get to the manual, you can get to show clearance forms, sample meeting agenda, you know, presentations, the entire presentation that's available. It's all here. It's all available. So I think what I did is I searched on chapter leaders, and then there's, for instance, treasurer documents, secretary documents, how to update your compliance filings. All right. All of these things are online here. Resourcefulness, you might have to go and fetch.
A glass of water, babe.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that right for you. So sorry about that. There's resources at the society level, but remember, one of the things I always encourage my board and other district leaders here as well. Remember, we're not our own little tiny bubble. We would going back to what Bill was saying about collaboration and about the sort of the second follower, great video about that, and the starting of a movement. There are some chapters that have been able to, like Lansdale and like some others, Alexandria, for instance, that have been able to create that sort of collaborative event where they work with other chapters and get other stuff done. Remember that we're all members of a chapter in a singing community, and we're also members of the district, and there are 16 other districts. There's Sweet Adelines, there's Harmony Inc. You know, there are a lot of other singing organizations that if you have reaches or contacts, or if you know someone that has contacts, and I know many of the people here have, you know, membership roles in those other organizations. You know, sometimes it might be that someone in Sweet Adelines and some other chapter in Sweet Adelines maybe has a better way to do something. Certainly would be worth a look. Wouldn't harm anything to have a look and see what they do, right? Resourcefulness, you know, reach out, inquire. Okay, so I needed to follow up and just finish on this. So as we know, attend any and all sessions, please do. It's wide open. Last year, I tried to do registration through Eventbrite. That didn't work so well, according to the troubles and the questions that I know I had to ask. And also the issues that we had with people connecting, not having access to the links. The email that you have, as you see, has all of the direct meeting links. Just join in. During sessions, make sure you practice good mute etiquette. We all do that. We're all used to that now. We've been Zooming for quite a long time. We get it. Interact, ask questions. That was a concern I had last year doing this. Wasn't sure how the class interaction and interactivity would be, but people commented that they felt more connected with the instructor, the faculty, and then the other class members in their little session. And I thought I witnessed that as well, but it was good to hear it on the survey. I do look at the surveys, so that's all good. So two last things. We'll close with questions, and then we'll close out. One thing is, so I mentioned that I'm trying to see if I can get Jason Lee to present. We're just coordinating the time when that can happen, if that can happen. I know he's a very busy man. George Korch as well. Thank you, Bill. Yes, reached out to him. We'll try and get them in. I'll advertise that because those will be great sessions to have. Second thing is, I've been reached out to for a program section. So a section to talk about program and chapter program as a board, as a position, as a chapter position. In the past, we've wanted to do that. We just haven't had the ability to have great interest in that. But I'm talking with Christian Hunter about helping to pull that together because I know that's a topic that's near and dear to his heart. So, so stay tuned. We'll add a session. It might be on a Saturday. Somewhere where we can fit it in. It might happen after Leadership Academy is concluded. Maybe we'll do something in February as we can. So stay tuned. There'll be more on that. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions at all? I'm going to stop sharing now. Come back to the gallery. Are there any other questions about how this is going to roll? Okay, we have the next 4 weeks together. Some of you will be in multiple sessions. Some of you will just come to your specifically scheduled session. And then we have the combined sessions on our closeout night, the 30th. So please be here for that. Those sessions are phenomenal because we get sort of the cross-pollination for different board positions. And we have people there, experts really, that I consider to help answer any other outstanding questions we have for this year. Scott Stevenson, I see a hand. You're on mute. Now he's giving me the finger. No. There you go. Let's see. I should have sent you just an ask. I can't hear you.
Scott, you're on mute.
Yeah, I can't. Can you come off of mute?
How's that?
There we go.
Is
Yes.
that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my question is, can the president also hold another office?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the chapter bylaws that prohibits that.
Yep.
In the standard chapter bylaws. I don't recommend it, by the way, but it is
Except treasurer, right?
you can't be treasurer. That's the only one you can't be. The treasurer has to be separate.
Right.
Oh, okay. So the secretary can hold the treasurer's position if need be?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
we
mean,
get it.
again, Steve is making,
Yeah.
it's not desirable. None of what you're describing is desirable, Scott, but any port in a storm, if you have 5 people left in the chapter,
We are really, we
yeah,
are.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But you know, in the majority of chapters cases, that's not the ideal situation, but it beats not having the person in that job. So
Okay. All right. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Does anyone else have anything to bring? Looking for hands.
How do I unmute? How do I mute?
Here, I can take.
Rob, thank you much for your reading.
Thank you, Rusty, and thank you all for being here at this kickoff session. I know I learned a lot actually from Bill. Thank you, Bill, for your contributions. And I loved hearing some of the stuff and the commentary from our chapter, from our district leaders as well. So thank you, Steve and Katie and Ann. Very much appreciated your perspectives. Thanks. We'll see you down the line. Have a good night.
Thanks, Rob. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Rob.
Thank you.
And thank you, Bill.
No problem, Larry. Glad to be of service. Good to see you.
Yeah, this actually works pretty well, even though we can't be together.